The night shift on the space station. Freedom was usually quiet. Commander Alexis Warren liked it that way. The soft hum of machines and the gentle beeping of sensors created a peaceful backdrop as she watched the stars through the observation window. For 6 years, she had led the Deep Space Listening Post, searching for signs of life beyond Earth. Many thought it was a waste of time and resources. Tonight would prove them wrong. Alexis sipped her coffee and adjusted her headset. The station orbited Earth silently, its massive dish antennas pointed toward the depths of space. Her team of 12 specialists monitored different frequency bands, looking for patterns in the cosmic noise that might indicate intelligent life. "Commander, I'm picking up something unusual," said Jack Porter, the youngest member of her team. His voice held a mix of excitement and uncertainty. Alexis walked over to his station. "Show me." Jack pointed to his screen. "It started about 3 minutes ago. It doesn't match any known pattern in our database." On the screen, a series of pulses appeared in regular intervals. Too regular to be natural, too complex to be random. "Run it through all analysis protocols," Alexis ordered, her heart beating faster. "And call Dr. Mitchell." Dr. Alan Mitchell was the best xenolinguist on Earth. If anyone could make sense of a potential alien message, it was him. Within an hour, he was connected to the station via secure video link, his gray hair disheveled as if he had just rolled out of bed. "This better be good, Alexis. It's 3 a.m. in Boston," he grumbled. "Alan, look at this pattern and tell me what you see." She shared her screen with him. The scientist fell silent as he studied the signal. His irritation vanished, replaced by intense focus. "How long has it been transmitting?" "Almost 2 hours now," Alexis replied. "It repeats with slight variations." "This isn't random noise," Alan said softly. "The mathematical sequence here is too precise." He worked quickly, typing equations and running the signal through his own specialized software. "Alexis, this is a language. A complex one, but definitely a language." The room grew quiet as the reality sank in. After decades of searching, humanity had received its first confirmed communication from an intelligent alien species. "Can you translate it?" Alexis asked. "Give me time," Alan replied. "But yes, I think I can crack at least parts of it." Over the next 12 hours, scientists around the world joined the effort. The signal continued, growing stronger as if the sender knew they were listening. Alan's team made the breakthrough on the second day. "It's a distress call," he announced during the emergency briefing with Earth's Defense Council. "They call themselves the Nylari. Their civilization is under attack by something called the Vorax Dominion." Admiral Catherine Hayes, head of the United Earth Defense Forces, leaned forward. "Are you certain about this, Doctor?" "The message contains star charts and coordinates," Alan explained. "They're fleeing to our solar system seeking refuge. They believe we might help them." "Help them how?" asked General Scott Davis. "If these Vorax can threaten an advanced alien civilization, what chance do we have?" The answer came 3 days later when sensors detected objects moving toward Earth at incredible speeds. 5 small ships entered the solar system, pursued by 3 larger vessels of clearly different design. From her station, Alexis and her team watched as the drama unfolded near Mars' orbit. The 5 smaller ships, presumably Nylari, tried to scatter. The larger ships, likely Vorax, methodically hunted them down. "We're receiving a transmission from one of the smaller ships," Jack called out. "It's using our communication protocols now. They've analyzed our technology." A face appeared. On the main screen, humanoid but clearly alien with pale blue skin and large dark eyes. The being spoke, its words translated by the computer using the patterns Alan's team had decoded. "People of Earth, I am Ambassador Zelthun of the Nylari Collective. We come seeking alliance against the Vorax Dominion. They destroy all in their path. We have little time." Behind the ambassador, alarms flashed and other Nylari moved urgently. "We are transmitting tactical data about the Vorax fleet," Zelthun continued. "They will not stop with us. Once they detect your civilization, you will be next. The transmission cut off as a bright flash lit up the screen. One of the Nilari ships had been destroyed. The remaining vessels scattered, desperately evading weapons fire. "They're being slaughtered," whispered Alexis. Admiral Hayes watched. From Earth Defense Headquarters, her face grim. "Get me the President now." In the White House Situation Room, President Eleanor Foster listened as experts presented what they knew. The Nilari data packet contained detailed information about Vorax weapons, ships, and tactics. It painted a frightening picture of a merciless empire that consumed resources and technology from conquered species. "Madam President, we need to decide quickly," Admiral Hayes urged. "The 4 remaining Nilari ships are requesting emergency landing clearance. The Vorax pursuers will be in weapons range of Earth within hours." President Foster stood at the window, looking at the night sky where invisible drama was unfolding. "What are our options?" "We can reject the Nilari and hope. The Vorax leave us alone," General Davis suggested. "Or we can grant sanctuary and potentially draw these aliens into a war we may not be able to win." President Foster turned back to face the room filled with military leaders and scientists. "If these Vorax are as the Nilari described, they'll come for us regardless. I won't turn away those seeking help." She straightened her shoulders. "Admiral Hayes, grant the Nilari landing clearance and prepare our defenses. If Earth must fight, we will show these Vorax that humanity is not easy prey." As Alexis watched from the Freedom Station, the Nilari ships raced toward Earth, the Vorax hunters closing the distance with each passing minute. Humanity stood at the threshold of its greatest challenge. Everything would change from this moment forward. The first call had been answered. Now it was time for humanity to show its strength. 3 days after the first battle, Earth prepared for the real fight. 30 Vorax warships approached from the edge of the solar system. They moved slower than the scout ships, their massive engines pushing vessels the size of small cities through space. Admiral Hayes studied the tactical display in the war room. The glowing dots representing the enemy fleet moved steadily closer. "We need to know what we're really up against," she said to the gathered officers. "Captain Nash, I want you to lead a mission to capture one of their ships. We need their technology and information." Captain Nash nodded, though his expression showed he understood the danger. "I'll take a team of Titan units. Dr. Rivera has equipped them with boarding gear." Lieutenant Garcia stepped forward. "My ship can get you close enough, Captain. The Defiance has the best stealth systems in the fleet." The plan was simple, but dangerous. While the main Earth fleet engaged the Vorax, Nash's team would slip aboard one of the enemy vessels, capture its command center, and download all available data before extracting. Ambassador Zelthun offered his help. "I can teach your soldiers some basics of Vorax ship layout. It may save precious minutes during your mission." The remaining Nilari refugees worked alongside human scientists and engineers, sharing what they knew about Vorax technology. Dr. Alan Mitchell, who had first decoded the Nilari distress call, now worked to understand Vorax communication patterns. "They use a different frequency range than either humans or Nilari," he explained to President Foster. "It suggests their sensory organs evolved differently. They may not perceive reality the same way we do." The Vorax fleet entered the orbit of Neptune, still days away from Earth. Admiral Hayes ordered the first phase of Operation Thunderbolt to begin. Earth ships hidden in the shadow of Neptune's moons launched a surprise attack. Small, fast vessels darted between the larger Vorax ships, firing precisely targeted weapons at engines and weapon systems before jumping away. The Vorax responded with brutal force, their weapons vaporizing 2 Earth ships that moved too slowly. But the attack served its purpose. The enemy fleet scattered slightly, creating confusion that Captain Nash's team would exploit. The Defiance slipped silently between the massive Vorax vessels, its phase-shifting technology making it nearly invisible to enemy sensors. Lieutenant Garcia guided the ship with expert precision, avoiding detection as they approached their target, a mid-sized Vorax vessel that intelligence suggested might be a command ship. "We're in position, Captain," Garcia reported. "Deploying your team now." Captain Nash led 12 soldiers in Titan combat suits. They launched from the Defiance and used short thruster bursts to close the distance to the Vorax ship. Magnetic clamps allowed them to attach to the hull without making noise that might travel through the metal. "Cutting through now," Nash told his team. Remember, we need at least one of them alive for questioning. The special lasers cut through the hull, and the team entered the enemy ship. Inside, they moved quickly through dark corridors lit by an eerie purple glow. The Titan suits allowed them to move in zero gravity with ease, their built-in weapons ready. They encountered the first Vorax soldiers within minutes. The aliens were tall and thin, wearing armor that seemed to be part of their bodies. The fight was brief but fierce. The human soldiers had the advantage of surprise, but the Vorax fought with terrifying strength. These aren't normal soldiers, Nash realized as he watched one take multiple direct hits before falling. They're enhanced somehow. Meanwhile, the main battle intensified. Admiral Hayes coordinated Earth's defense from the command center. Dr. Rivera's remaining Titan units formed the front line, their agility allowing them to dodge the slower Vorax weapons. Lieutenant Garcia received the signal that Nash's team had reached the command center of the target ship. Now she had to keep the Defiance in position for extraction, despite increasing enemy activity around them. We're starting to draw attention, her sensor officer warned. 2 enemy ships are changing course to investigate our sector. Inside the Vorax ship, Nash's team secured the command center. Only 4 of his original 12 soldiers remained. The others had been lost in intense fighting through the ship. Download everything, Nash ordered, as one of his team connected to the alien computer systems. We don't have much time. The Vorax databases revealed horrifying information. The aliens didn't just conquer other species, they harvested them. Genetic material, resources, even entire populations were consumed to fuel the Vorax empire. Earth was already on their list, Nash realized as he viewed star charts with marked targets. They were coming for us anyway. The Nylari just accelerated their timeline. As the download completed, alarms blared throughout the ship. Their intrusion had been detected. Time to go, Nash told his team. But the way back to their entry point was now blocked by dozens of Vorax soldiers. Fighting their way out would be impossible. Lieutenant Garcia, Nash called over the comm link. We need a new extraction point, east side of the vessel, near what looks like a secondary engine housing. On my way, Captain, Garcia replied, already adjusting the Defiance's course. Nash made a difficult decision. Johnson Peterson, you hold this position. Buy us time to get this data back to Earth. The 2 soldiers nodded, understanding what he was asking. They would stay behind and likely die to ensure the mission's success. The Defiance arrived at the new extraction point just as Nash and his 1 remaining team member cut through the hull. Vorax weapons fire followed them as they leaped across the void of space toward the waiting ship. Captain, Lieutenant Garcia shouted as Nash's teammate was hit by enemy fire, his suit rupturing instantly in the vacuum of space. Nash made it aboard the Defiance alone, the precious data secure. Get us out of here, he ordered, his voice hollow with the loss of his entire team. The Defiance escaped, phase shifting through the Vorax blockade to rejoin the Earth fleet. The information Nash had obtained would prove invaluable, but the cost had been high. In the battle above Neptune, humanity scored its first major victory. Lieutenant Garcia's tactics of using phase-shifting technology to bypass Vorax shields proved effective. 3 enemy cruisers were destroyed with minimal Earth casualties. The Vorax fleet pulled back temporarily, regrouping for what would clearly be a stronger push toward Earth. Ambassador Zelthun watched the battle recordings with amazement. We sought allies, he told President Foster during their meeting, but we have found warriors. Captain Nash's data confirmed what they had feared. The main Vorax fleet, over 200 vessels strong, was only weeks away. Earth had won the first real battle, but the war had just begun. The Vorax arrived with a fleet of over 300 warships. Their vessels emerged from faster-than-light travel near Jupiter, the massive gas giant looking small beside their flagship, the Dominion's Fist. The rest of their fleet spread out, in attack formation, ready to crush any resistance. Admiral Hayes studied the enemy fleet through the command center's main display. She had expected a large force, but this was beyond even their worst predictions. They're moving into the solar system, the sensor officer reported. Estimated time to Earth orbit, 6 hours. Hayes nodded, her face calm despite the odds they faced. The Allied fleet was drastically outnumbered. Even with the Keldari, Torans, and Silvani ships, they had barely 100 vessels against the Vorax 300. Begin Operation Shadow, she ordered. All ships execute hidden deployment pattern. Instead of meeting the Vorax in open space, the Allied fleet had hidden themselves within Saturn's rings. The ice and rock debris, combined with the planet's strong magnetic field, masked their energy signatures from enemy sensors. President Foster addressed the people of Earth one last time before the battle. Today we fight not just for our planet, but for all free beings across the stars. Whatever happens, know that humanity stands against tyranny. We will not surrender. Captain Nash prepared for his mission aboard the Defiance. His strike team consisted of 12 members, 3 humans, 3 Nalari, 3 Keldari, and 3 Torans. Each wore specially designed combat suits that accommodated their different body types. The Excalibur device is stable, Dr. Rivera assured him, handing over a metallic sphere the size of a basketball. Once activated, you'll have 30 seconds to clear the area before the singularity forms. Lieutenant Garcia checked her neural connections to the Defiance one final time. All systems at peak efficiency, she reported. The Silvani modifications are working perfectly. We'll get you to that flagship, Captain. As the Vorax fleet moved deeper into the solar system, they encountered no resistance. Earth appeared defenseless. Sensors detected primitive satellites and a handful of small military stations, but nothing that posed any threat to their armada. The Vorax Supreme Commander, Lord Vex-Kor, stood on the bridge of the Dominion's fist. His gray skin stretched tight over sharp facial features, his 6 yellow eyes scanning tactical displays. This planet is ripe for harvesting, he told his officers. Their attempts to shelter the Nylari, vermin show they lack the wisdom to surrender. We will cleanse their world and add their genetic material to our repository. The Vorax fleet passed Mars, destroying the small defense outposts they found there. Lord Vex-Kor was puzzled by the lack of significant opposition. The reports from his advanced scouts had indicated at least some military capability. Approach with caution, he ordered. Maintain full sensor sweeps. As the massive fleet reached the orbit of Earth, Admiral Hayes gave the order that would be remembered in history books for centuries to come. Unleash hell. From within Saturn's rings, the combined Allied fleet erupted like a swarm of angry hornets. The human ships, led by fast attack vessels, hit the rear of the Vorax formation. The Keldari targeted communication arrays with surgical precision. The Toran heavy cruisers engaged the largest enemy ships, their reinforced hulls absorbing damage that would have destroyed other vessels. The Vorax fleet, caught by surprise, scrambled to respond. Their neat formation broke apart as ships turned to face attackers coming from an unexpected direction. Lieutenant Garcia piloted the Defiance straight into the chaos. Thanks to her neural link with the ship, she navigated through the battlefield with impossible precision, dodging enemy fire that would have hit any normal vessel. We're approaching the flagship, she told Nash. Stealth systems at maximum. The Defiance slipped between larger battles, its phase-shifting technology making it nearly invisible. They passed so close to one Vorax cruiser that Nash could see individual weapons ports through the viewport. Prepare for deployment, Nash told his strike team. The Excalibur device was secure in a specialized container on his back. The Dominion's fist loomed ahead, a mountain of dark metal bristling with weapons. The massive flagship was surrounded by a protective screen of smaller vessels. I'm going to create a gap, Garcia said, her hands dancing across controls even as her neural implants flashed with activity. Be ready to launch on my mark. She targeted a weak point in the defensive screen, firing a concentrated burst that disabled 2 escort vessels. Now! Nash and his team launched from the Defiance, their specialized suits allowing them to maneuver through space toward the flagship. Behind them, Garcia engaged multiple enemy ships to draw attention away from the strike team. Reaching the hull of the flagship, the team used magnetic clamps to secure themselves. The Toran members deployed special cutting tools, creating an entry point large enough for the entire team. We're in, Nash reported. Moving to target. Inside the massive vessel, they encountered heavy resistance. Vorax soldiers swarmed toward the intrusion point, their weapons firing bursts of energy that could cut through standard armor. The Keldari members of the team moved with surprising speed, their multiple limbs allowing them to climb along walls and ceilings to outflank the defenders. The Taurans used their strength to create barricades from torn sections of corridor plating. "We need to reach the main engine room," Nash reminded them as they fought their way deeper into the ship. "Everything else is secondary." In space, the battle raged across the solar system. Admiral Hayes coordinated the Allied forces with calm efficiency, shifting resources to support weak points and pressing advantages where they appeared. The Silvani ships moved through the battlefield like ghosts, using their organic technology to heal damaged Allied vessels. When a human cruiser lost its main engine, a Silvani ship attached itself to the hull, organic tendrils extending to repair the damage within minutes. On the Vorax flagship, Nash's team suffered heavy losses. 2 Keldari and 1 Tauran fell, defending a crucial junction. A Nylari sacrificed himself to draw fire away from Nash when they were cornered. By the time they reached the main engine housing, only 5 remained. Nash, 1 Nylari, 1 Keldari, and 2 Taurans. "Plant the device. Here," Nash ordered, pointing to the central power coupling. "This will disrupt their entire power grid when it activates." The remaining Keldari worked quickly, securing the Excalibur device to the coupling. "It's done," he announced. 30 seconds once activated." Nash looked at his team. They all understood what this meant. The distance back to the entry point was too great to cover in 30 seconds. "You have families," the Nylari said quietly. "I will stay and activate it." "No," Nash replied. "I'll do it. The rest of you, get to the extraction point. The Defiance will be waiting." But a sudden explosion rocked the engine room. Vorax reinforcements had arrived, cutting off their escape route. They were trapped. "Looks like we're all staying," Nash said grimly. He activated his comlink. "Lieutenant Garcia, strike team, is compromised. Excalibur is in place, but we can't extract. Requesting remote detonation capability." Garcia's voice came through, strained from the battle she was fighting. "Sending activation code now, Captain." Nash received the code on his suit's display. "It's been an honor," he told his team. He entered the sequence. The Excalibur device hummed to life, a blue glow emanating from its core. "For all our worlds," the Keldari said. "For the future," added the Nylari. As the Vorax soldiers breached the final barrier, Nash pressed the activation button. The Excalibur created a controlled singularity at the heart of the Dominion's fist. The massive flagship imploded, collapsing in on itself in a spectacular display of physics and engineering. The singularity lasted exactly 30 seconds before dissolving, leaving nothing but scattered debris where the mighty vessel had been. Lord Vexcor and his command staff vanished in an instant. The Vorax fleet, suddenly without leadership, fell into disarray. The hierarchical command structure the Keldari had identified proved to be their undoing. The Allied forces pressed their advantage. What had begun as a desperate defense became humanity's first interstellar victory. 3 days later, when the last Vorax ship had been destroyed or driven from the solar system, Admiral Hayes stood before the assembled leaders of Earth and their alien allies. "We've won this battle," she told them, "but the Vorax Empire is vast. They will return." Ambassador Zelthun stepped forward. "Then we will be ready. Together." President Foster nodded. "The alliance formed in battle will become the foundation for a new interstellar coalition. Earth offers to serve as its headquarters." 1 month later, Commander Alexis Warren was appointed as humanity's first ambassador to the newly formed Stellar Concordat. The organization established its base on Earth's moon, with representatives from all allied species working together to coordinate defense and rebuild their damaged worlds. On a clear night in Washington, D.C., President Foster unveiled a monument to those who had fallen. At its center stood a statue of Captain Nash and his multi-species strike team. The inscription read, "When called, we answered. When challenged, we rose. When faced with darkness, we became the light. The galaxy now knew. Humanity was not just another species to be conquered. We are a force to be reckoned with. The data Captain Nash brought back changed everything. Earth had 2 weeks before the main Vorax fleet arrived. 2 weeks to prepare for a force that had conquered 17 other civilizations. Captain Nash recovered slowly in the medical bay. His body would heal, but the loss of his entire team weighed heavily on him. Admiral Hayes visited him daily, bringing updates on Earth's preparations. "The Nylari ambassador has a plan," she told him one morning. "We're reaching out to other species who've been fighting the Vorax." Ambassador Zelthun had spent days in communication with hidden resistance cells across the galaxy. The Nylari weren't the only species fighting the Vorax. They were just the most recent victims. 3 species have agreed to send what forces they can spare, Zelthun explained to President Foster and her War Council. The Keldari, the Taurans, and the Silvani. Dr. Alan Mitchell worked with Zelthun to establish communication channels with the new allies. The first to answer were the Keldari, an insect-like species with 6 limbs and compound eyes. They were master strategists who had been fighting the Vorax from hidden bases for over 50 years. "We can send 12 ships to your system," their leader, Grand Tactician Zixtral, said through the translator. "But you must understand, they are all we have left. If Earth falls, we have no future." The Taurans arrived next. Massive beings. Twice the height of humans, they moved slowly but possessed incredible strength and engineering skills. Their 5 vessels were floating fortresses, heavily armored but lacking speed. Last came the Silvani, slender, pale beings with large, dark eyes. They were telepathic healers whose world had been destroyed by the Vorax 20 years earlier. Only a small population remained, living aboard 3 organic ships that seemed to pulse with life. Earth became the staging ground for the first organized multi-species resistance against the Vorax. Commander Alexis Warren, who had received the original Nylari distress call, now coordinated the integration of alien technologies with Earth systems. "The Taurans can reinforce our ship hulls," she reported to Admiral Hayes, "and the Silvani have biotechnology that allows pilots to connect directly with their vessels. It could give us an edge." Lieutenant Garcia volunteered to test the Silvani neural interface. The process was painful but effective. When she returned to the Defiance, she could feel the ship as if it were an extension of her own body. "The reaction time is incredible," she told her crew. "It's like thinking and having the ship respond immediately." Meanwhile, Dr. Samuel Rivera worked with Keldari tacticians to develop a weapon that could target the Vorax flagship. The massive vessel, identified in Nash's stolen data as the Dominion's Fist, was 3 times larger than any other ship in the enemy fleet. "If we can take out their command vessel, it might disrupt their entire attack," Rivera explained to President Foster. "The Keldari believe the Vorax use a hierarchical command structure. Cut off the head, and the body falters." Their solution became known as the Excalibur Protocol, a gravitational weapon capable of creating a localized singularity. It would collapse in on itself after 30 seconds, but that would be enough to tear apart any ship caught in its field. The problem was delivery. The weapon needed to be placed directly on the Vorax flagship's main engine housing. "It's a suicide mission," Captain Nash said when he heard the plan. He was on his feet again, though still weak from his injuries. "I'll volunteer to lead it," but tensions between the allied species threatened the mission before it could begin. The Taurans and Keldari argued constantly over battle tactics. The Silvani kept to themselves, uncomfortable with the violent thoughts that surrounded them, and many human military leaders remained suspicious of their new alien allies. During a particularly heated planning session, a Tauran commander knocked over a table in frustration, nearly crushing a Keldari tactician. Weapons were drawn. War seemed possible between the very allies who had come together to fight the Vorax. Captain Nash, still recovering from his wounds, limped to the center of the room. "Enough!" he shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. The room fell silent as Nash spoke. "I've been inside a Vorax ship. I've seen what they do to conquered species. They don't just defeat you, they erase you. They take your genetic material, your resources, your very existence, and they use it to fuel their empire. My entire team died to bring back this information. He looked around the room, meeting the eyes of each species' representatives. The stars don't care what planet we were born on, he told them. Today we are all children of the same universe fighting for our right to exist. If we can't work together, we've already lost. His words changed something in the room. The aliens looked at each other differently, seeing not strange beings, but fellow survivors. Ambassador Zelthun approached Nash afterward. You have a gift. For unity, Captain. Your words reached across species barriers, that is rare. In the days that followed, cooperation improved. The Taurans reinforced Earth's largest vessels with their advanced metallurgy. The Keldari shared battle tactics that had kept their resistance alive for decades. The Silvani taught human doctors how to heal wounds that would have been fatal before. Dr. Rivera finished the Excalibur device with help from scientists of all 4 species. It's ready, he told Admiral Hayes, but whoever delivers it won't be coming back. On the final night before the Vorax fleet was expected to arrive, Captain Nash stood at the observation deck of Earth's orbital headquarters. The combined fleet of human and alien vessels gathered in formation, preparing for the coming battle. Lieutenant Garcia joined him, her neural implants glowing faintly beneath her skin. Admiral Hayes has approved your mission plan, she said. The Defiance will take you and a joint strike team to the Vorax flagship. Nash nodded, his eyes still on the fleet. Who would have thought, he said quietly, that a simple distress call would lead to this? The first galactic alliance in human history. Garcia looked out at the stars. Do you think we can win? Nash turned to her, determination in his eyes. We have to. We're not just fighting for Earth anymore. We're fighting for all of us. Below them, Earth shone blue and beautiful, unaware that the next day would determine its fate. The final preparations were complete. Humanity and its new allies were as ready as they could be. The Vorax were coming, but this time they would not find easy prey. They would find a united front, standing together against extinction. The 3 Vorax ships loomed in Earth's orbit like massive black spiders. Their hulls absorbed light rather than reflected it, making them appear as moving holes in space. President Foster's decision to help the Nylari had been made, but no one knew if Earth had the power to face what was coming. Admiral Hayes stood in the underground command center beneath the Rocky Mountains. This facility, known to only a few hundred people on the planet, was about to reveal humanity's greatest secret. Begin the sleeping giant protocol, she ordered. Her second-in-command, Captain William Nash, looked at her with wide eyes. Are you sure, Admiral? Once we start, there's no going back. Hayes nodded firmly. The Vorax have already destroyed 1 Nylari ship. Our satellites show they're preparing weapons. We're out of time. Nash pressed his palm against a scanner, then entered a 12-digit code. A voice recognition system activated. Authorization, Captain William Nash. Wake the Giant. Across Earth, hidden facilities hummed to life. In the Arizona desert, a section of ground slid open to reveal a massive underground hangar. In the South Pacific, the ocean bubbled as platforms rose from the seafloor. On the far side of the moon, lights flickered on in a base that officially did not exist. For 60 years, ever since the Roswell incident, humanity had been preparing for this day. Reverse-engineered alien technology, combined with human innovation, had created weapons and ships kept hidden from the public. Dr. Samuel Rivera watched as his life's work was finally being revealed. In his underground laboratory beneath the Nevada desert, 50 giant mechanical suits stood in neat rows. Each stood 20 feet tall, painted matte black with the Earth Defense Force logo on the chest. Begin activation sequence for the Titan. Units, he told his team. I want all 50 ready for deployment in 30 minutes. The Nylari ambassador Zeltun, one of the few who had survived the journey to Earth, watched in amazement as screens showed the hidden preparations. He had come seeking refuge for his people, hoping that perhaps this primitive species might provide shelter while his people rebuilt. What he saw instead left him speechless. You. "You have been preparing for war," he said to President Foster. She nodded. "We hoped we would never need these weapons, but we weren't naive enough to believe we were alone in the universe." In orbit, the Vorax ships launched their first attack. Energy beams cut through the outer layer of Earth's satellite defense network. Conventional military satellites exploded one after another. The Vorax commander, a being named Crawl, sent a message to Earth. His face appeared on screens worldwide. Gray skin stretched tight over a skull-like face with 6 yellow eyes arranged in a circle. "Primitive beings," he said, his voice translated by the Nylari systems. "Surrender the refugees and submit to inspection. Resistance will result in your extinction." President Foster's response was brief. "Humanity does not surrender to threats." As if on cue, the first of Earth's secret weapons emerged. From a hidden base in Antarctica, 3 ships rose into the sky. Unlike anything seen publicly before, they moved with impossible speed, their hulls shimmering with energy shields. Lieutenant Olivia Garcia sat in the command chair of the lead vessel, named Defiance. 6 months ago, she had been flying outdated fighter jets. Then she had been recruited for a program so secret that her family thought she had been killed in a training accident. "All systems online," her tactical officer reported. "Weapons charged. Phase shields at full capacity." Olivia took a deep breath. "Take us up. Intercept course for the nearest Vorax vessel." In the command center, Admiral Hayes watched as humanity's true space fleet revealed itself. "Captain Nash, what's the status of the Olympus base?" Nash checked his displays. "The Mars facility is deploying now, Admiral." Beneath the red dust of Mars, doors opened in what appeared to be an ordinary research outpost. 5 more warships emerged, already moving to flank the Vorax attackers. The Vorax commander Crawl seemed momentarily confused by the appearance of these unexpected vessels. His confusion turned to alarm when the first volley of Earth weapons struck his shields. "Impossible," he hissed. "These primitives should not have phase technology." The battle in orbit was visible from Earth as flashes of light. News channels showed confused footage of strange ships moving at impossible speeds, firing weapons that bent the very light around them. In her ship, Olivia executed a maneuver that took Defiance directly beneath one of the Vorax vessels. "Fire main cannon," she ordered. A beam of concentrated energy shot upward, cutting through the Vorax shields as if they were paper. The enemy ship listed to one side, secondary explosions rippling along its hull. On Earth, Dr. Rivera led his Titan units into deployment pods. "Remember your training," he told his pilots. "These suits can operate in vacuum and atmosphere. They're faster and more maneuverable than anything the Vorax have seen before." The pods launched, 50 streaks of fire rising to join the battle. Inside each, a pilot controlled their Titan suit, a combination of mech and spacecraft that could transition between the two as needed. Ambassador Zelthun watched the human response with growing hope. "Your species, your warriors." Admiral Hayes allowed herself a small smile. "We're survivors, Ambassador. We've been fighting each other for thousands of years. Now we have a common enemy." The remaining Vorax ships began to retreat, moving out toward the edge of the solar system. It wasn't a victory yet, merely the first skirmish in what would certainly be a longer war. But humanity had sent a clear message. Earth would not fall easily. Captain Nash received new intel from the deep space monitoring stations. "Admiral, we're detecting a larger fleet at the edge of the solar system. At least 30 Vorax ships." Hayes nodded grimly. So this was just their scouting party. The sleeping giant was now fully awake. Shipyards on the Moon and Mars began accelerating production. Training centers activated sleeper agents placed throughout civilian society, pilots, engineers, and soldiers who had been prepared for this moment. Humanity had answered the call. The true test was still to come.